and infectious disease expert Raywat Deonandan joins us. And Raywat, 2 deaths, too many, we know here in Manitoba, but that's the lowest numbers since early in November, 130 new cases going in the right direction. I gather the key here is throughout the holidays and especially New Year's Eve is keep doing what we're doing, and that's staying apart, staying home.
That's right. The message hasn't changed, right? It's not magical stuff. We just need to reduce our average number of exposures. And over the holidays, people did congregate a bit more than we probably should have. And so I wouldn't be surprised to see the numbers actually increase in the next couple of weeks.
How do we stand compared to other provinces? I guess we're really seeing a spike in Alberta.
Yeah, Ontario too is seeing some bad numbers. It's up and down across the country. In general, it's not good, depending upon the time frame you want to look at. Manitoba, as you mentioned, has something of a lull in numbers, which is great. But again, it's dangerous to look at just a couple of days. It's the overall trend we care about. And frankly, the entire country is in a bit of a pickle the next couple of weeks. And much of the country is experiencing new economic restrictions. So hopefully that will drive down the numbers. But that takes weeks again for the effect to be realized.
And the expectation should be those lockdown orders should stay in effect probably for the next several weeks, if not several months here, because we're going into the worst part of this.
That's right. And that's such a horrible thing to have to say. But yes, it's true. We're probably looking at weeks, if not more, of economic restrictions, especially as the threat of the new, more transmissible variant becomes real.
So, Raywat, here in Manitoba, I've lost count because the days start to run together. I think we've been in red for at least 8 weeks. It's supposed to end July or June. It might be July, January 8th. So you don't see any change on there, even though we're seeing 2 deaths today, 130 cases.
Oh, you might be out of the red zone. Absolutely. It's possible. Anything's possible. But prepare for the worst and hope for the best.
And I think it should show people that we have been under these restrictions for many, many weeks now. And just now we are starting to see sub 200 level cases and now closer to 100. It does take 8-10 weeks, correct?
It really does. And remember, the economic restrictions, the lockdowns, as people call them, they're just disincentives for human behavior. They only work if the incentives work, if people actually follow, the directions and don't congregate, don't interact. The holidays are hard because despite the fact that things are closed, people are still trying to be together. And so it's harder for these restrictions to have an effect. Now that the holidays are mostly over, I expect the lockdowns or restrictions to have more of an effect.
We had, I think, 58 tickets handed out in the last week in Manitoba, 44 of them for get-togethers in homes. So some will say, if people got together at Christmas, when could we expect to see that bump? Because every day that the numbers come in, I wonder, is this the day as we're 5 days out of Christmas?
I think people are tired of hearing this answer, but it's always 2 weeks. It's 2 weeks between exposure and when symptoms might arise and when you get to the testing center and get your test results back. So the average is about a week or two before these things manifest in the data stream.
Raywat Deonandan is with us on 680 CJOB from the University of Ottawa. But I'm hearing stories about how people have snuck in relatives over the Christmas season in their cars, in the back seat, into the garage, that type of situation. Hopefully those numbers don't spike over the next week to 14 days, but the expectation is that they will. So when we're dealing with the situation now and in the weeks ahead, and we focus in on the vaccine, our premier's shifting, saying we're going to try to get as many of those vaccinated as possible. Let's get those first shots out. We're ramping up 40,000 shots likely in January. As you gain that momentum, Raywat, we're still at this for another 6 months, but come July, we should be able to see and look back and say, yeah, we got through this. Is that your expectation?
That is fully my expectation. Now, I did some back of the envelope calculations. If the country wants to reach herd immunity by July, we probably need 1 million inoculations per week. If we don't meet that number, if we get close to that number, that's probably fine as well. We talk about 70% being the magical threshold for herd immunity, but we can get to herd effects with a number less than that if we are strategic in how we use the vaccines and if we maintain some other mitigation tools like some social distancing. So yeah, I fully expect us to be mostly done with this by spring, if all goes well.
Okay, in Britain today, AstraZeneca gets the green light. I remember that during the testing or the calculations, there was a mistake. People were given a half dose and then a full dose, and they had better numbers than people that received 2 full doses. So what do you think Canada will do with AstraZeneca?
So the UK, even though they observed that, what they eventually licensed the vaccine for was 2 full doses 12 weeks apart rather than a half dose and a full dose 1 month apart. It's kind of mysterious. They have access to data that I haven't seen. I think Canada will probably, I don't know what Canada will do. It depends on what data we get, to be honest. I wouldn't be surprised if we take the UK route, and I wouldn't be surprised if we took the half dose route. Anything is possible at this stage. I will say, though, that regardless of the dosing regimen that we end up embracing, they all work. So the AstraZeneca vaccine is effective at minimally 62%. So it will have an effect, and it can be distributed far more better than the mRNA vaccines because it doesn't require cold chain storage and transportation.
Much easier to deal with, and I think people will be happy to get most people will be happy to get whatever vaccine they can into their arm, and we are always happy to have you on with us. Thanks, Raywat Deonandan, who is a University of Ottawa epidemiologist and always so gracious with his time, and if we don't chat tomorrow, all the best to you and your family for 2021.
Thank you.
See you next year. Coming up in 50.